right, thank you so much for staying with Daybreak. Let's start this discussion. We're calling it Elections Countdown. 26 days to go to the polls. A lot is going on. There's a lot of the babs and counter jabs and the campaign trail. We'd like to talk about that in just a bit. But I'd like to hear from you as well. At Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Daybreak. Let me introduce my guest real quick, beginning from my immediate left. Dr. Isaac Alua is here, party leader GTAP. Thank you so much for making time. Dennis Nthumbi is also here, public service and governance expert. Asante sana for making time.
Thank you, sir.
We're still waiting for Harun Ndubi, advocate of the High Court. As soon as he comes in, we'll rope him into the discussion. Let's start off with the dailies and see what's going on there. Standard front page, Raila Ruto's tough task to avoid a runoff. The race between two leading presidential contenders is tight. That's according to the opinion polls. And Raila and Ruto will now have to work harder to win over undecided voters to secure a first-round win and avoid a second-round face-off. On the other side of the Daily Nation, Uhuru says, I was soft, but Karua will jail the thieves. Politics in City Rally, the president admits that he chickened out on dealing with thieves and other crooks in his government, but promises that Raila's running mate will do the dirty job if elected to office next month. Dennis, I'll start with you on this. We should even be on the campaign trail, 26 days to go.
Thank you very much, Trevor, and good morning, viewers. I think the president should confine himself to presidential mannerisms and apply himself to utensils and articles in the Constitution that prescribe the disposition of which a president should be. Given the fact that I believe that looking at the Constitution, Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and Article 10.2 of the Constitution that prescribes the national values and principles of governance will implicate him. The truth is, we understand that as a personal, from a personal level, the president has a preference, but he cannot nationalize and mainstream his personal preference. Given the fact that for the next 3 weeks or so, until there's transition, he sits as the president. And for a nation that is divided still and healing from the wounds of economic meltdowns, you know, high cost of living, we are a delicate economy and we are a delicate democracy. So I think from the days of Moi held himself with a certain decorum. Kibaki held himself with a certain decorum. But then we see a transitioning president who, number one, is behaving like though he's on the ballot, he's subject to electoral defeat. And number two, he's blaming his bad manners on everyone, you know, technically. So the plea to President Kenyatta was, don't provoke Kenyans. I don't know what he wants to achieve, but certainly what Kenyans are going through, the pain that they are going through, admit what hasn't worked within your space. Yeah. And as a leader, take it in. And you know, and this is a space that you apologize. This is a space that you become humble. This is a space, the space that you realize that power is transient. This is a place that you realize you're transitioning into a civilian space where all these bravado and chest thumping will not be available. This is a space where you realize you're going to live with the rest of the other Kenyans for as long as God gives you. And I believe that he'll give you a long life. But this is not the time to portend bad manners in the country. It is not the time to provoke Kenyans who are hungry, who are sick, who cannot put food on the table properly, and you have been their leader for the next 10 years. So I think that we understand that the president is supporting Raila. We understand that, given, and we respect that decision. But he must prescribe himself to presidential mannerisms within Article 10.2 of the Constitution. Yeah. And then Chapter 6 of the Constitution should not implicate him. We want him to retire peacefully, and we want Kenyans to transition to a place of prosperity. Okay. Dr.
Kalua, should the president be this involved in his own succession?
First and foremost, thank you for inviting me, Trevor. Thank you for the viewers. You enjoy good viewership, and I enjoy watching your program early morning.
Thank you.
I think Kenyans are going through a lot of challenges at the moment. And talking about the newspaper headlines, when you see desperation from one side to another, there seems to be definite pain because of what Kenyans are really going through, particularly cost of life and what people are having at the moment. This is a pain that is real.
Yeah.
I appreciate the words that my brother Nthumbi has talked about, and the only other thing that I would mention, maybe it's too hard to call it bad manners of the president. Those are very strong terms of a president and a leader at that level, and I'm sure it can be better. And what I'm calling better is because the same constitution gives everyone a right to share what they want to think, and what we must not be brought down to as a country is a level where what the president says is taken to be what it is. There are failures, definitely, and we need to bring our issues to the higher level, where we are talking about 26 days to go, where we are talking about the issues that Kenyans need to be addressed, where we are talking about the cost of life and what must be dealt with, where we are talking about leadership, and where we are talking about the kind of a leader that we want. We need to sieve them, and we have an opportunity. So my suggestion is that we should not get lost on what the president says or doesn't say, whether it is what my friend would regard as bad manners. Yeah. It's still a constitutional right in one way or another, but we need just to keep focusing on the 27th. What are we doing to bring down the cost of life? What are we doing to be able to make Kenyans live in their country in the best way possible? When you see the barbs that are being thrown currently, yeah, talking about the views of the polls, clearly, there is nothing wrong with the polls. The poll is right. It's just a basis of what Kenyans expect, and therefore the same voters, the same politicians use the same pollsters to be able to do what they have to do. Yeah. All they are trying to do is to pitch themselves higher, yep, and be able to deal with this. So I think let's keep focusing as we discuss this, as we deal with this. Let us not even deal with the mannerism. Let us completely, yeah, focus on the election that is coming up, yeah, and guiding Kenyans on what is best to be able to take our country. You've been watching the campaign trail, Dr. Kalua, and one of the things that the president mentioned yesterday was that DP Ruto is taking credit for the good things that have been done in government, but not taking blame for the bad things that have been done in government. When you see that banter, the executive banter between the two of them, and Ruto responded in kind, told him that, Mr. President, stay aside, let me deal with the Mutia Kitenda Willy head on. When you see that sort of banter, the executive banter, so to speak, is that becoming of the leaders we want? Trevor, do we deserve that as a country? That's the question we need to be asking ourselves. Mm. I appreciate that there was indeed a handshake, a very valued situation that calmed the situation in the country. Yeah. But couldn't we have a situation where the president and the deputy are still working together and thereafter include Raila in a handshake? A handshake would still have happened with the two working together. Yeah. I believe they are Christians in the way that they have always presented themselves to be. Where does the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi stand in? God, give me and enable me to be an agent of peace. Where there is hatred, to plant peace. And therefore, I believe that there is an opportunity that was lost, which we cannot talk about right now. We should not be seeing leaders abusing each other, calling each other names. The way that it went down yesterday to typical abuse. We have families. These leaders have families. What do you think the children will say when they see their parents talking the kind of language we are? I think Kenyans deserve something better. Yeah. And where systems have failed, individuals have failed, I think we need to leave it at that point and keep focusing. The more they talk about this, the more I'm encouraging Kenyans to focus on the 27th of August. Because what Kenyans went for election to do 10 years ago is not what they have eventually gotten, whether it is a global situation on high cost of living, whether it is global challenges need local solutions. Yeah. And therefore we need to be able to keep focusing. The more we talk about that, the more I encourage Kenyans that we focus on 27. This is what, 9th of August, because that's where our eye must be. Okay, let me bring it. Dennis, does the president have a point when he blames the deputy president for taking credit but not blame?
Because we've had several times on the campaign trail the deputy president saying that this road was done, we were there, this was done, this was not done. But when it comes to the issue of this was not done, there was always a blame that the second time there was handshake, so nothing happened because of that.
Trevor, I'll go back again to the application of presidential etiquette. And I'm going to call out, perhaps with the strongest terms possible and with a lot of respect, incivility, impunity, and just the culture of hypocrisy at the presidential level. You know, because Kenyans are tired of these charades and madness, you know, frankly speaking. And I'm saying that as a son of this nation, that we deserve, you know, truth, and we deserve better leadership as a nation. Everybody knows what happened between the president and his deputy. Everybody knows the executive order that aligned his deputy out of all functions. Everybody knows that the president refused to delegate duties to his deputy president. This is a song we have sung for million years. We're going to keep repeating the same thing because the president seems to have forgotten this matter. You understand, at the end of the day. We know that when the handshake happened, and a lot of revelations have come from that fact, is that the deputy president, you cannot take him out of what they planned to do. You can't take him out of Big Four. You can't take him out of the good things that happened within the Big Four and within the first term and all that. You also, the things that the Big Four might have achieved in the second term, you can't take that credit away from him. That's a reality, you understand? So when the president says we did this and we did that, it is true, he was the deputy president. But we know that at a certain point, the president visibly, through instructions, you know, presidential decrees even, removed him from all other functions. And when the handshake happened, many things have happened within there. Some of them have been out of bad leadership and bad decisions. Many of them has been out of repurposing government and repurposing financing. We all know what happened within BBI. We all know that the economy is bad. We all know that the cost of living is bad. We know the current state of our socio-economic welfare. You understand? And that is what the deputy president has said. Sadly, for the last 5 years, what you are seeing, I haven't been involved. I don't think that is being insincere. You know, what we need to do, Trevor, is instead of focusing on these very serious trivialities, because in the last 5 years, we have been treated to the lowest of the low. And I call it the kakistocracy. It's not democracy. It's where the Kenyan person hasn't mattered. What has mattered has been, you know, personalized politics and, you know, aggrandizement, you know, repurposing of all state infrastructure and the economy thereabout. Yeah. This election, one of the things that we have noticed is what we call voter volatility. The voter is upset and the voter is angry. And that's the reason why I'm saying don't provoke the voter. Okay. We have seen the Sri Lankan way. We have seen our friends here in Uganda. We have seen the nation is reeling out of anger. What we want to do is do a transition that will help Kenyans recover what they have lost. Okay. Whether it's through COVID or whether it's through governance that is poor. Yeah. This is not personal. It's not anything. The life of every Kenyan matters. The work of every Kenyan matters. Yeah. We need to restore the place that a Kenyan gets to enjoy their prosperity in a nation that God gave them. So this insincerity needs to go. Okay. This dishonesty and hypocrisy needs to go at the end of the day. Okay. And that's my point, you know, plain and simple. And that is something that is chronicled in Chapter 6 of the Constitution. It is chronicled in Article 10.2 of the Constitution. We worked very hard to make sure that the realizations within the COK 2010 come true. And these things have been robbed up. Kenyans are not poor. Yeah. Kenyans have been overexploited. Okay. Dr. Galua, are you seeing some sense of lack of collective responsibility? Because Kenyans entrusted these two leaders with their votes. Despite what happened between the two of them, isn't this the point where they come out and tell Kenyans, okay, this is what we managed to achieve, this is the mandate you gave us, this is what we've done, this is what we've not done, this is how we intend to have what has not been done to be completed. And if we failed you in one way or another, then we are sorry. As a team. Not
you
so and so did this. You have just said it.
Yeah. You have just nailed it, Trevor, because first of all, I believe that nobody, at least I don't know what happened between the two. Because first and foremost, I take them for what they are, Christians. They should be able to have solved the situation for the common good of Kenyans.
Yeah.
The fact that they did not work together, whoever did what they did, because they will share different situations, and there must be facts, there must be merit in one way or another that led to the split. I repeat, there was an opportunity of a handshake in the midst of all this. There was an opportunity of a handshake even when they were working together. There is a loss of opportunity for Kenyans, and the situation, 10,000 kilometers of roads is a very good job. Excellent. But Kenyans still have much more roads that are terrible. Kenyans still needed 20,000 kilometers of road. Kenyans still needed much more on the electricity connectivity, the last mile. The numbers that are being given are excellent, very good, but we still have Kenyans who needed much more and that needed that. The cost of living, the situations that are now being promised in the campaign trails, we are losing, and we are lost an opportunity of that being done.
Yeah.
Kenyans are actually going to vote in 27 days because of food, because of the high cost of living. And therefore, I agree with my brother in what he says. The only other thing I believe that we are losing here is an opportunity of these gentlemen having worked together. That is lost. It's in the drain. It is gone. Whatever they will say, it is an lost opportunity that they should have corrected and helped Kenyans to deal. Do you know, we are leaving it, you know, some of the opportunities that, Trevor, we have today.
Yeah.
The border rider, I keep talking about them because it's part of my business. They are paying an interest for their motorbikes of more than 60% per annum. When our leaders are fighting and abusing each other and using them in the campaign trails, 60%. Their motorcycles are being collected every now and then, repossessed. They can't afford food. We are talking, food was just, unga was just about 90 shillings the other day. We are now talking about 200, 230. Why should that have happened? Of course, the explanation is a global problem. Sure, yes. But we need a local solution. Isn't what they're promising in the elections and in the campaign trails what is supposed to have been done? Did it have to take rocket science for that to happen? Let us be fair. And fair to each other, and to them. They should also be fair to us as Kenyans. We want to do what is right for common good. And remember, Trevor, these guys are answerable to God Almighty, not to man even before else. And there is a place that we will reach that you will be asked questions. Yeah. That is what must drive every leader in this nation, and be able to make sure that a change is applied as per what is expected. Okay. We cannot have families suffering the way they are. 15 point something million households in our country suffering the way they are. No.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's my position.
All right. I have to take a quick break on Daybreak. When you come back, we're talking about the Africa Anti-Corruption Day, which was yesterday. It's related to what is on the Daily Nation as well. Uhuru says, I was soft, but Karua will jail the thieves. The question is, have they failed in the war against corruption as a team? We'll talk about that in just a bit, on a day when Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit urged Kenyans to reject leaders tainted with corruption. What will it take, really, to get leaders that we deserve? Because at the same time, the EACC also impressing upon the electorate to help uphold Chapter 6 of the Constitution through the ballot. So there's also collective shared responsibility. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Keep your views coming at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. We're back in just a bit.